Hi, guys. I'm Jessie Bernhardt.
And I'm Jenna Herman.
And Louie is here, too, who's Jen's puppy. And welcome to the Marketing Greenhouse podcast.
It's good to see you, Jessie.
It's good to see you, Jen. How are you?
I'm doing great because we're sitting recording in person in my new house.
That's so exciting.
Finally.
How are you feeling?
Good. I mean, sore, mainly just because of moving with pregnancy.
Yeah.
But like on cloud 9.
Yes. You guys feel so much lighter this week and like so much happier. And I'm just so happy for you.
Yeah. I 100% took for granted how much happiness comes from just like standard creature comforts, like your own bed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just
Matt and I were joking around that our bed felt like a hotel.
Yeah, I'm sure. Honestly, I'm like a Cancer, so like I am just home is always like so needed for me. Like being cozy in my home, and so like I don't know. I felt so bad since you've been displaced.
Yeah, for 6
displaced
months.
is probably the wrong word, but you know.
Yeah.
But I know you have your low, and well, you have a lot of highs this week, but your low has to do with your high.
It does. So initially I was having a hard time thinking of a low. And then I thought, how could I forget? By the way, if anyone hears Louis barking in the background or his chain jingling, it's like having another toddler around here.
Yes, it totally is. People that like have puppies, I'm always like, it's like the same thing. Like they post on their stories, their dogs are doing that. I'm like, yeah, my kid does that too.
Yes. Anyways, my low is, so we worked with 2 different movers. I should start with, I have always loved Make Space in the past. I've actually done campaigns with them. And because we have moved like Rolling Stones over the last few years, we've done 5 or 6 moves with them in the last 3 to 4 years. And it's always been wonderful. Their team is great.
Yeah, you've always said great things about them.
Yes. Well, I'm not quite sure what happened, but we have, I'm going to conservatively estimate, we have about $3,000 worth of damage from our move.
It's wild. I just went through this stuff with you downstairs, and it's like they were playing football with your boxes.
I mean, literally, so I had actually sold most of our furniture since we didn't know where we would be moving.
Yeah.
And their storage fees are not cheap. So anyways, we didn't have much furniture, maybe 10 to 12 pieces that we stored with them.
Okay.
Only 3 aren't chipped. And stickers was put all over our wood furniture. Anything that's breakable showed up.
Stickers?
Oh yeah, there's stickers all over our wood furniture. Like I have this really cute a huge ruler, 6-foot ruler that's hand painted for the kids' bedrooms to measure how
like
tall they
height.
are. Yeah. It says the Hermanitos on it. And they slapped 2 stickers on the front of it, one across our name. And it's wood.
God.
So like obviously the adhesive sticks.
It's painted wood, right?
It's painted wood.
Yeah.
So like you can't get it off. So I mean that's ruined. Anything that's breakable, like vases, lamps.
Jeez.
Almost everything showed up shattered.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's what you were showing me, the boxes. Like you guys, it literally looks like they just got thrown down the stairs. It's bad.
It's also kind of awkward because the boxes must have been jingling as they brought them in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can
like
tell
they're
when
so
ceramic
shattered.
is, yeah, totally.
Yeah. But yeah, so that is unfortunately the low. However, I'm back to being positive Polly. They do have a claims process. They know that I'll be reaching out to file a claim. And I'm optimistic that we can at least recoup and maybe that turns into a fun housing project.
Yeah, maybe.
But definitely our stuff. So far, I have to go through our Christmas ornaments, which I'm really scared to do.
Oh no, not Christmas.
Because that's really the only sentimental thing. Louis is now licking Jessie's microphone.
My microphone.
That's really the only sentimental thing that they moved. We moved everything else by hand.
Ugh.
So fingers crossed.
Yeah, I hope that would really suck.
Yeah. But the high is that we are in our house. We're obsessed with it.
It's beautiful.
It's our total dream home. We're just so happy to all be here.
It's also like, so again, there are pros and cons to everything. Like with houses, unless you just buy like a total gut renovation, right? Again, even pros to that, right? But like
Right.
with housing stuff, I was telling Jen, I'm really jealous because like, so open floor plan, it's one of those things that's been talked about more recently, but like, especially post pandemic, it looks great in photos. It's not ideal for living. Like, at least for me, I don't
Yeah.
love like, or entertaining. I cook a lot, that's the other thing, and so,
Yeah.
like, my kitchen is just generally has stuff on the counter, like, I don't like to put everything away all the
Yeah.
time because I'm always cooking and always and if you're entertaining, your kitchen has to be clean, so it's like you can't it's really hard to cook something and entertain at the same time. Anyway, Jen has, like, a much more traditional home that, has, like, a not open floor plan or not completely, like, the kitchen has an open to the living room, but then, like,
Yeah.
your dining room is separate, you have your office, like, it's just, like, it has a nice foyer,
Yeah.
and I don't know, it's a beautiful home. I'm
Well,
so
thank
happy for you
you.
guys,
Yeah, we're really
and
pumped.
I'm excited to see, like, the finishing not even finishing touches, you got, like, more than, some fun stuff to do. Not
Yeah.
just, like, decorating, but, like, countertops and your kitchen's gonna be beautiful, and
Yeah, we're very
it's very
excited.
pretty now, but it's, like, it's a perfect
It's funny because I
to
said to
add.
Matt the second we moved in here, it felt like home, and even after all that work we did at our other house, it didn't
Yeah,
feel like home to me.
yeah.
And the second moving in here, I was like, "Oh, I'm 1,000% home."
I
Even
love it.
though nothing like, the style doesn't quite look like us at all yet,
Yeah,
but it still is better.
I'm jealous of that. I feel like I'm kind of a person that, like I don't know if I'll ever be, like, home. I
Yeah.
love our house, it's great, but it's not I don't know. Like,
I've
people
never had it before.
yeah.
Like, I've never, like, moved into a place where I'm like, "Oh, I'm never
I was
leaving."
gonna say, this is, like feels like forever home for you guys, where I'm always
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I'll ever have a forever home unless I move
Yeah.
back to New York and
Yes.
New York is my I think that's the reason because 'cause I'm always like, like we were I
Jess is
told
always
you
pretend moving back to
I
New
always
York.
pretend moving back to New York, but I'm like, "We're not gonna be here for long, maybe just, like, 17 years, and then we're leaving."
Yeah.
Like, we were talking to our financial advisor last week, and he's like, "How long are you gonna be here?" I was like, "I mean, it's not a forever home, like, we're going back to New York. Maybe in 17 years, but we're going back." So, maybe that'll
Yeah.
be my forever home, but, yeah, this place is lovely, and the neighborhood's beautiful, and
Which is funny because 'cause we're like, "This is our house for, like, the next 17 years, and we're calling it our forever home." That's funny.
I don't know, I don't do you think you'd move, though?
I feel like this is the kinda home where you raise your kids and host a million parties, and then eventually you get something that is, I don't know, more you'd, like, downsize eventually.
Yeah, I guess, like, a little bit more manageable when you don't need
Yeah.
my mom, and or my parents when they moved out of our the house they downsized to wasn't that much smaller, but they moved out of, our childhood home,
Yeah.
and my mom, I remember at the end, we had 4 siblings growing up, but, like, at the end, she was just like, "It's too much space. I don't go in the rooms, but they still have to be cleaned and
Yeah.
maintained and, like, all the and she's like, "It just becomes too much when you're older," but yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great house to, like, raise kids in and a beautiful neighborhood and everything.
Yeah, I see us in, like, after the kids are gone in, like, a 2-bed, 2-bath, like, completely
Gonna
regressing.
move back down to Gold Coast, come back to the city?
That's my plan.
Perfect. And I'll be gone.
Yeah. I'll have a place for you to stay when you
And
come back.
I'll still be pretending I'm moving.
Yeah. So how about you? What are your highs and lows for the week? Other
Oh
your high must be Louis licking your face off
all
while
the
you're trying to
kisses I'm
speak.
getting are my high. Okay, we're back. Louis quite literally stopped our recording. He jumped up and pressed stop record. Um,
Let's get a quick hot take. What's worse to watch, Louis or a toddler?
I think it would depend on the day, like toddlers when
Like
they're
right
just
now in this moment, as he's trying to break out of where we're sitting.
he just thinks it's so funny, but like Teddy does this sometimes too, where he thinks something's really funny. And you're just like, stop, stop. Okay,
Yeah.
that's enough. Like, that was cute, but like, this is annoying now.
And he's back.
I don't know. Yeah. This is why I'm not getting a dog. I love him. It's great. And
Oh, he's so cute, but he's a
it's so
handful.
cute. But
I will
like,
tell you, him and Emmy together are like,
yeah, it's like having a third kid. It would be literally, yeah,
oof,
like,
it's draining.
yeah,
Anyways, how's your week been?
it's been good. What have I been up to? Hold on. I wrote down my low. I don't know. I haven't done much this week. I told you Mercer slept
Right.
But that was kind of the same as last week. He's like just upping his hours every night, which
Which is
is
great.
great. I'm very excited. Mom's on Call is the book we've been reading or using. I
Yeah.
was telling Jen about it, but it's been good and like kind of gives you a schedule by the week, and we've been following that. And yeah, so hopefully in a couple of weeks he'll be 7 to 7 like Teddy.
This baby better sleep.
I think he'll sleep. Yeah, so that'll be nice to like have life back when both kids are sleeping completely. But
Wait, Teddy's still sleeping 7 to 7?
he sleeps 6:45 to 6:45.
Are you kidding me?
And honestly,
Emmy went to bed at 9 o'clock last night.
I don't know how you first of all, I don't know how you do it because like I feel like Kyle and I like are barely crossing the finish line at 6:45 with Teddy.
Like 6:45, I'm just like, all right, I got 2 more hours to go.
No, it's like 6, like sometimes we'll put him down as early as 6:30 if he's like losing it,
Yeah.
or like 6:15. But yeah, he doesn't nap at daycare either though. And he just like runs himself.
So she has now dropped her nap to 1 hour a day.
Okay.
So I mean, it is an hour, but
It's at least she like gets like
some recharge.
Yeah, some recharge. Teddy doesn't, and so he's just like, I don't know,
He's
by
just
time
exhausted.
he's
Yeah.
exhausted at bedtime. Right. So like if you think about 7:45, I mean, yes, 9's a little bit later, but like that's what he would be without his nap. I mean, if he napped normally. Though even on nap days, he doesn't always. We still put him down early, and he'll just like hang in
Anyways,
his
so you'll
bed.
have 2 children sleeping for 12 hours
Yes.
is the moral of the story.
But yeah, so that's sort of a high. My other high is that, as I just told Jen, there's 11 days until Christmas.
Yeah. Music. Christmas music.
Christmas season. Holiday season. I don't mean to leave anyone out. It's like I just love the whole holiday season.
Krista Kringle's here.
Yeah, it's like all of, I don't know. So I start my Christmas music first thing in the morning on November 1st and just overdo it until Christmas. See, the great part though is like by Christmas, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like I leave my tree out.
You're a tree up until New Year's kind of gal, right?
Oh, absolutely. I don't take my tree down, but like I'm kind of sick of it. Like by January 10th at least, I'm like, get this tree out of here.
See, I'm gonna make you cringe. It depends on the year, it depends on my mood. So this isn't always the case. But, and this won't surprise you, sometimes on the 30th, I like to take the tree down.
Mhm.
So we wake up on January 1st to like a clean house and we're ready to roll.
I don't dislike that. Like I could.
It depends when New Year's falls.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I like, because like by time January comes, I'm always like, I always hold on to the tree a little longer, but I'm done. Like I have holidayed myself out. I've done 2 straight months of holiday. I don't want to hear any Christmas music until next year. Like that's why I like to start early, because like I don't ever like to be holding on at the end like, oh, I wish the holidays were still here. Like I want to run myself dry. So I'm excited that there are 11 days till the holidays. My low is, I was telling Jen how stuff like my contractor is being a serious pain in the ass. We're trying to like finish some projects for the end of the year, and he's just being a bad contractor, which is so common and so annoying.
He is not the Matt's construction.
No, he is not. And I need to like switch contractors. We don't really have that many big projects to do though. So that's like the annoying part, is I wanted him to just finish what he started. He did the whole gut renovation of our house, so he like knows what's in the walls and everything, so it's just easier.
For sure.
But
if he shows up.
Yeah, if he shows up. And now I'm just like ready to just go with someone else because it's a pain in the ass. So
I don't blame you.
Anyway, let's get on to this week's episode. I'm excited about this because it's something that has like given us new life in the social media space. I feel like we were so exhausted by Instagram.
Yes.
And still are recently. But I think it's also a great time for the holidays, because it's a platform where you can build quickly if you put the effort in. And there's actually ROI, where I feel like Instagram recently, there's been like very little ROI on your effort put in. Like,
Instagram is such a challenging
and
platform.
every week I'm sending Jen something new. I'm like, did you know this is happening? Like, do you know they were changing this? They're taking away IGTV. Like, there's just so much, and it's so hard to keep up, and it's also just like so hard to grow. And if you are growing, like the people that are growing are making like 3 reels a day.
Right.
That's insane. That
Yeah,
is
it's not
so much
reasonable.
effort, and especially for a business owner, like if you're it's one thing if you're like an influencer and like your life is Instagram, like your money is made on Instagram, but if your money is made elsewhere and
Right.
you're using it to support that, it's just impossible. Like
Yeah.
it's just so hard, like the amount of effort you have to put in. So with all that being said, let's talk Pinterest.
Yes. So tell us, who should use Pinterest?
So I don't want to say everyone because it's not necessarily for everyone, but a lot more people should be using Pinterest than we find are using Pinterest. I think that there are very few businesses that can't benefit in some capacity from being on Pinterest. And I think like some of the ones that we narrowed it down to that it'd work really well for are like bloggers, obviously. Anyone selling like online courses or any sort of online services, personal branding. So if you're just trying to expand like your personal brand, and then retail with consistent inventory, whether that's in not in real life, but like what do you call it in person? What's like a store, like a storefront?
Yeah, storefront.
Okay, or
Brick and
online.
mortar.
Yeah, brick and mortar. That's IRL. And then people with like consulting or coaching businesses. I think there are just like a lot of different platforms that different businesses that can use this platform to really do well and generate business. Jen, you really have leaned into it on a personal level
I
with
have.
your blog, and you've done really well. Um, how did you start on Pinterest?
That's a good question. First, I can tell you I will never be recording an episode with Louie again.
Jen was just wrestling him while we were
As he was trying to chew his
while I was
leash in
talking.
half. I mean, Louie. Anyways, yeah, I started seriously using Pinterest about 18 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And once I started using it, it took off. Now the algorithm has changed a little bit, but it took off in about 3 to 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
And it has grown. I mean, I went from like 2,000 impressions a month to over 800,000.
Yeah. You did a lot of backlogging. I don't know if that's what you call it, but like
Yeah,
you went back. You have a pretty great treasure trove of content that you went back and like really started to like dig through and add that to Pinterest, right?
Yes. So I started optimizing old posts, creating pins for those posts. And then one of the other tricks that actually helped too is I would do like $25 ad buys
Mm-hmm.
on some of the posts where I wanted to drive traffic.
Yeah.
And that would give the pin enough oomph
Mm-hmm.
to catch a wave.
Right.
And then it would take off from there.
Yeah. That's another thing with Pinterest. Your money goes a lot further
Yes.
on Pinterest, and it really like when you can just spend like a very little amount of money.
Like I literally would spend $25.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden like your pins will start like catching.
A couple times I have spent 50, but that's not normal for me.
And I think it's also great if you're doing, if you're in the influencer blog space, if you're doing brand partnerships, it's a great way to, and I don't like because you're spending the money. It's not like fake, but like to put some money behind it, not that much, but like still get better results for the company. Like and just either add that into like what you're charging them.
Yes.
Or like I know we've both done that a couple of times where it's like, okay, well we can, if you give me like $500 or something, and then you take 400 and then put like 100 behind it on Pinterest or something, or not even that much, but it's a great way to up your numbers for partnerships.
Yeah. And then it was really just being about consistent. I know we'll talk about tools later Tailwind has been a game changer.
Mhm.
But also in the last month, idea pins have come up, which I don't use Tailwind for idea pins. I create those manually.
Mhm.
But because it's such new territory within the algorithm, you can actually take reels you've created
Mhm.
and load those up as idea
Yes.
pins
Yeah.
or any type of a short video. It's almost like an Instagram story.
Yeah. And they're putting a lot of cloud, I don't know what you call it, behind
Yeah.
that to make those, like, really perform well.
Yes.
Um, Another thing that's interesting with Pinterest that I think companies don't realize, so it's so hard to grow on Instagram at this point that there are a lot of really great bloggers that are producing a ton of content that just, like, are growing like molasses. And, um, there's this one girl, I'll actually include her in the show notes. So she's, Karen, I can't remember her Instagram handle, Karen M something, but I'll include her in the show notes. And she has like 3,000 followers on Pinterest. She just did a challenge where she posted twice a day for 30 days on Instagram, which is just kind of crazy. Like that is so much content. And I I looked her up on Pinterest. She has like almost 2 million views a month on
Yeah.
Pinterest. And I think it's just interesting because companies don't realize that, like, Instagram is not the end all be all. You know, I
No.
think, like, we work with clients sometimes that are like, "Well, I want them to have X amount of Instagram followers." And it's not always about Instagram. Like, it can be about Pinterest too. It can be about other or you can grow on other pl
Diversify.
yes. We diversify, and still get the amount of impressions you want, if not more, and if not more targeted
Right.
um, for like the same amount of money because oftentimes people will not charge as much on Pinterest as what they're charging for on Instagram. But like if someone has 3,000 Instagram followers and a million Pinterest views, like obviously your brand could potentially do a lot better with advertising on Pinterest. And I know bloggers take Pinterest only campaigns sometimes.
Mhm.
Like I didn't realize that until recently. Like they won't even be on Instagram, but they'll pay for Pinterest. And I think that they get more bang for their buck there,
Yeah,
especially like small companies.
I would agree. Yeah, so I have found it to be really helpful. I also load all of my lead magnets onto Pinterest too.
Mhm.
So that has been like I have a budget renovation template that I
Yep.
have shared on Pinterest, no ad spend behind it, and I get a handful of people signing up for it every week.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, lead magnets are fantastic on Pinterest. I feel like that's a great way to start building an email list.
Yeah, and one clarifying piece for people because I feel like we often run into clients who are like, "So I've heard good things about Pinterest, but it's not for me." If you have any form of a blog on your website, you would fit with Pinterest. So even if you're a retail store, but you write some lifestyle type pieces,
And you can also start a blog to play on Pinterest to get traffic to your site.
yeah, you're still the goal is to drive more traffic to your site. So
Right.
you don't necessarily have to be selling your inventory on Pinterest. You could be writing a post about the best way to style a family room for your home decor store and drive people to the website that then clicks out to links about the house.
Yeah, and I think that I just lost my train of thought.
You guys, Louis is digging at the window. This is going to end up being our clunkiest podcast since the influencer one when
I
it sounded like
know.
we were recorded with a tin can.
Okay. But yeah, I think you're right. It's a lot of different businesses can be on Pinterest. And I think that everyone thinks it's like only for DIY home people. And it's
Right.
absolutely not. There are a lot of other companies that are really thriving on Pinterest.
It's a great way to drive organic traffic to your website. It's a growing platform. You can which I feel like you can speak to this well too. It's easier to plan in advance, but talk about the curation a little bit.
Yes. Okay. So that I think that that's where I was going. Instagram has to, and I know people swear up and down that like it's not about the grid anymore. And I completely disagree. I know very few people who would follow an account with like just a junky grid unless you know who they are. It's one thing if it's like a celebrity or
Right.
someone who's already established. You're right, your grid doesn't need to be perfect anymore or like look that good because you have a following that's like outside of just that. But if you're looking to grow, then I do believe, and especially as a business, I really think that Instagram serves as a second website these days. So it has
Mhm.
to look clean and on brand and nice. And your 9 boxes or 12 boxes need to be consistent and pretty. But the great thing about Pinterest is one, there's like a lot more room to like test and learn. Because you can just kind of like throw things out there. Not throw it, but like you make a rich pin. A rich pin is a pin with words on it. So like think about like dinner recipes or something like 10 easy dinner recipes. What you can do is use different copy in the rich pin and like make it, 3 different ways or like am I making
Yeah.
sense? Okay.
So to piggyback off of what you're saying, every blog post that I write, I make 15 to 20 pins about that blog post.
Right, exactly. And it's like you use,
Different
10
words,
yeah,
different
5 white paint
photos.
colors or like the best white paint colors, and then you use white paint colors for the main bedroom or white paint colors, that look great in sunlight. You can just do a million different tags and see which one catches on, and I think that that's great about Pinterest where, like, you can't play that much on Instagram because, again, your grid you can always archive things, but it just feels like the stakes are higher when you are posting on Instagram, whereas Pinterest, you can just kind of put the content out there and see what
Because
sticks.
everything gets organized into a board, and it's not like people go through your boards in detail, whereas on
Generally,
Instagram,
right.
yeah, on Instagram, everything lives in this one little grid.
Mhm. Yeah, and so then also if you're posting, which you can post more on Pinterest because it's easier to get the content out there, then all your content, like, will go away in a day. If you're using Tailwind to auto post and post other people's pins, it's not just your stuff.
You're also not penalized for auto posting like you are on
Yes,
Instagram.
of course. Instagram penalizes you for anything good.
Um,
Anything that makes
and
it easier.
it's nice because it's a more positive place to be,
Yeah.
in my opinion. And the intent, at least behind the static pins, idea pins change just a little bit because idea pins try and keep you within the Pinterest realm
Mhm.
longer. But static pins, so those being either a rich pin or just a photo, are intended for you to pin it to your board and potentially click out.
Yes, exactly. Instagram is, like, building this platform where they never want you to leave.
Yeah.
Like, that's why Facebook is getting in so much trouble as a company because they're just, like, monopolizing everything, and they're just trying to Instagram literally built out, like, a blog feature, so you don't even have to
Right.
leave leave your Instagram to go to someone's blog. But yeah, Pinterest is there so that you click out basically. Like,
Right.
it's that's the point of the whole platform.
Yeah, and it genuinely supports you owning your own content
Right.
and linking to that. Whereas to Jesse's point with Instagram, they're trying to keep everything within Instagram. And if there have been 2 blackout Instagram days that I've
Yeah.
known,
Right.
and people always panic, and it's like, "Well, guys, that's you're not supposed to put all your
Right. You
eggs
don't own
here.
it.
You don't own it."
Um, I also think as a company in general, I find that Pinterest is more helpful to its creators, and I know
Yes.
Instagram is, like, pretending that they're trying to be, but they're very transparent. They have a whole, like, website, blog of business tools. They come out with, like, a holiday, um, like, blog post and webinar every year that kinda, like, tells you how to, like, do well for holiday. They're constantly hosting webinars. They're constantly, like, trying to give you the tools to grow and to be better, and I just appreciate that more, whereas Instagram, I feel like, is always, like, doing things behind the curtain, and
Yes.
you just never really know, and it's a bunch of people guessing what's happening, and then they're, like, denying things that are obviously happening. They're like, "We don't shadow ban anyone," and it's like,
Yeah.
it's not true. Something's happening. I don't know what you wanna call it. Maybe it's not a shadow ban, but you were definitely shadow banned for a while. Like,
Yes, I
there
was.
so it just doesn't make sense, and so, yeah, I think, like, Pinterest as a company really supports their creators, and businesses,
Mhm.
and they're constantly trying to do things to, like, help you, and then when you spend money with them, they really make it worth your time,
Right.
worth your money.
Yes. So in terms of getting started, one of the biggest tips is just to start a business account.
Mhm.
There, Their stats are very helpful. Now, I will say they're not as detailed as Instagram, but they're still really good.
They overhauled them, like, last year too, and it
Yeah.
was I think a lot of people that were used to the old school ones were a little bit annoyed, but I know I've, like, adapted and adjusted, and I find them pretty helpful. I agree, it's not as meaty as Instagram, but they're getting there.
Yeah. And I would create 5 to 10 boards.
Mhm.
And boards are a specific topic you wanna focus on.
Also, like you said, create a business account. I know people that, like, because they use Pinterest, like, just to find their meals or whatever, they have kind of, like, combined their personal and business.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that, then, like, delete or archive or hide any boards that aren't relevant to your business.
Right.
You can make private boards if you just want them,
Yeah,
like,
you
for
can still have
fun,
secret boards.
or you can, just make a new account. Pinterest is very easy to toggle between accounts.
It
I
is.
found that with, our clients that we run some Pinterest for clients, and it's super easy to toggle between, so, yeah.
I actually kept my old Pinterest account, made it a business account, and archived some boards.
Mhm,
The other piece I would say is of the boards that you create, you wanna write ideally SEO optimized board descriptions, but
mhm.
that's gonna freak some people out.
Yeah.
Just describe the board in 2 sentences very clearly.
Yep.
Don't try and be cute like beachy deets. Like I would have, beach details for entertaining or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that popped into my mind was the beach.
Um, and then apps are a great way. So Tailwind is an app that works with Pinterest, that you can schedule your pins and you can also join their communities
Mhm.
where it's kind of like, what do you call it on Instagram when you have like the
Group boards? Oh, no, engagement pods?
engagement pods, but like Instagram hates those. It's kind of like an engagement pod, but a little bit less sketchy, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's, like, completely, like, above board, and you join these communities, and you join, like-minded, communities or people that have, like, similar interests or
Yes.
business interests, and those people
You
pin.
can all pin each other's content.
Yes, and you add your content to the boards, and then they add theirs, and then you just pin out. It's sounding confusing as I'm saying it, but it's not that hard, and there are a lot of tutorials on YouTube, and there are a lot of Tailwind tutorials in the app website. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, you can so within Tailwind communities, you can search for a group just by finding keywords.
Mhm. Like, if you're, like, a health food blogger, you can find,
Like,
like, a Whole30 group or something.
yeah, and, like, I'm in an interior design group because I have so much home
Yep.
content from our renovation, even though I'm not an interior designer.
Mhm.
And you can when you create new pins, you can save them to your own Tailwind queue, is what they call it. But you can also publish them to these group boards
Mhm.
within Tailwind, and then everyone helps each other out. Every time you add a pin to the board, you're supposed to then pin something of someone's.
Yes,
There's like
yes,
kind of a
yeah.
quid pro quo ratio. But yeah, it's really great. And then can you talk a little bit about the group boards on Pinterest?
Yeah, so then that's the other thing. I feel like Tailwind was really big, but more recently, or maybe not more recently, but at some point in the last year, I kind of discovered these group boards, and you can join a group board on Pinterest, or there's a website. We'll also link this because I'm forgetting what it's called. But I was talking to Jen about it the other day, where you can find these group boards that you can join. And what happens there is basically, if Molly is following a board, she can follow this group board. And then let's say it's an interior design group board. So if you join it and it's like 1,000 people, your content is going to show up on Molly plus however hundreds of thousands however many hundreds of thousands of people might be following that board. So it's just another way to get more eyeballs on your posts, and eyeballs that are interested in what kind of content, the group board is providing. And so, yeah, there's a lot of ways to join those group boards, and I think you can just request. But the website I'll link, it's like a great way to find them and get in on them.
Yeah. Oh, the question we always get is how many pins should I be pinning?
Mhm.
So this will sound crazy to you, but best in class is around 8 pins per day.
But it's not hard. It's
It's
not
not
like
hard.
Instagram. If you just it takes a little bit of time on Tailwind every month or
I
every
can
week.
s I can schedule a month's worth of content in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like an hour and a half, 2
Yeah,
hours.
it's not that hard. Um, Canva has a bunch of great rich pin templates that you can just turn into your own.
Yes.
So you don't need to like design them by yourself in Photoshop or anything crazy.
Well, and so that's why it's particularly not hard. So, for example, as I had mentioned, every time I write a blog post, I create 15 pins for it. I have one Canva file with all 15 layouts,
Mhm.
and then I just drop in photos and I change names. I download it as a zip file, upload it to Tailwind, and now I'm off and running.
Yeah, it's not hard at
It's
all.
literally that easy.
Yeah. And again, like we were saying before, you can just recycle, recycle, recycle. So like you can also use it's not like you can't use the same blog post twice in a month on Pinterest. Like
Right.
you can make new pins um constantly with the content you have.
Yeah, I would say, and even if you do as little as 2 pins per day, which you
Mhm.
could schedule that out in a half hour to an hour for the month,
Yeah.
you could do that across 2 to 3 blog posts,
Yeah.
and that would fill an entire content calendar for the month.
Yeah, I think something we didn't touch on yet is Pinterest is like a search engine, and I think
Yes.
people don't necessarily realize that. And it's just like a great way people are constantly searching on Pinterest for different things.
Yeah, I
Um,
like to call it the visual Google.
yeah, I think that's a great way to think of it. And I'm trying to think of like, yes, for bloggers, we're talking about blog posts. How can other businesses use Pinterest? And I'm like trying like what kind of business, like give people ideas of how their business can come to life on Pinterest.
So, I think it's fantastic. If you have a brick and mortar store, you could start a blog to just talk about one different theme for the month.
Mhm.
Maybe it's, this time of year, it's preparing for fall, thinking about the holidays. How does that theme then relate to your store?
Mhm.
You can link to specific products or even category pages within your blog post. Have one clear visual, and that could be shared.
Mhm.
You can also set up your retail store as a shop on Pinterest, and that would work. For other businesses, service-based businesses, it's huge because service-based businesses can easily create a few lead
Yeah.
magnets or just write about the work that they're doing and
Right.
share a few tips, and that will live for years and years
Yeah.
on Pinterest.
Okay, Jen. So, what about if you are a business wanting to work with influencers on Pinterest?
That's a very good question. So, there are 2 types of content that do well on Pinterest. One is what's called evergreen content.
Mhm.
So, evergreen means it never expires.
Mhm. Give
Um,
us an example.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I saw your eyes dart. You're like, "What's a good example of this?"
What's really unfair is that Jessie has just come back from maternity leave, and I keep telling everyone this. All of the creative juices have been sucked from my body, trying to make up for her creative brain, and so I can't come up with good examples
I
right
was gonna
now.
say, I'll give one. One of your like evergreen pieces is like the best white paint colors for a house. There's
Yes.
no seasonality to it. There's no, I don't know. It can go on forever and ever. Non-evergreen content would be 10 great gifts for
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. Exactly. And I would say even that or like for Mother's Day 2020 or something,
Right.
especially if it's like year specific. Um Not it's worse, but like it's very specific. It's only gonna run a certain amount of time. But yes, Mother's Day, it's like only relevant for a month.
But to play in that space a little bit, if you were to do the best, throw pillows for the holidays,
Mhm.
maybe you own a home decor store.
Mhm.
Um, Pinterest content lives 6 to 8 weeks in
Yep.
advance. So you would want the influencer to most likely shoot their content in September
Mhm.
and release the content by early October
Mhm.
so that it is catching wind in time for the holidays this year.
Yep, totally. And Pinterest, like, sees some holidays, like, especially, I think October, November, December, like Q4, they start sometimes even in July. Like, people start
Yes.
searching really early on Pinterest. And that doesn't mean that if you wanted to start now, it's way too late. But I would start now, like, immediately.
The earlier the better, and honestly, in this case, it's interesting because on the flip side with Instagram, you can post too early. Like we've talked about gift guides this year,
Yes.
and you don't wanna come out with those too early.
People get really annoyed on Instagram. It's funny.
Or even Facebook if that's a main channel for you.
Yep.
But on or on Pinterest, you can come out with that content in July or August, and it will still just start to catch speed in time for the holidays sometime between October, November, December. I actually did that with some holiday content. I posted it at the end of August, and it's just starting to take off.
What kind of content?
Some holiday content I posted at the end of
Oh,
August.
that's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's, like, had enough time to, like, simmer a little, and now it's boiling up.
So that would be the best way, I think, to get started. If it feels overwhelming, Jesse and I are huge proponents of this. We talked about it in a different podcast episode. If you are getting started and it feels overwhelming, reach out for an advising session.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's,
We love sitting down with people for an hour or two and strategizing, making a game plan.
yeah, brainstorming some, like, really good ideas and how to really get started. Obviously, we can do, like, larger scopes as well, but if you just
Right.
want something to, like, how could my business use Pinterest, and how can I get started, and, like, where can I get the best ROI?
I always think it's important because you don't want to expend too much of your energy trying to research the platform.
Yes, I agree.
Because then by the time you actually go to get started with your work, you're like, "I'm exhausted. I don't even feel like creating
Yeah,
content."
that's so true. Yeah, we can, like, basically, give you a game
We'll
plan
fast track you.
of how to launch and how to get started.
Yeah. I'd say that's a good kickoff.
Yeah. Jen, where can the people find you?
Whenever we say I know I feel like I started it with the people. It also I refer to strangers as the people with Emmy, and so Emmy will often be like, "Hey, mom, is it the peoples?" But to answer your question, the people can find me at jennay.com,
Mhm.
JENNNAYE.com. I'm also on Instagram at jen.nay and Pinterest, of course, /Jen Nay Herman. And Herman, which is the tricky one, is HERRMANN.
So funky.
I know. So German. Where
Is
can the
it
people?
German?
It is German.
We both have German last names.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I mean, if you met my father in law, like, you'd know we are German.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
What if we're, like, related
That
by
would be
marriage?
only you would go there.
I'm like, I don't know, it's possible.
There's a bajillion people in Germany.
Yeah, but I mean, Midwest? I don't know. No, that doesn't make any sense, but
Kyle's not even Midwestern, really.
yes, he is. He's from North Dakota. You don't get more
Well,
Midwestern than that.
yeah, I guess. I
That
don't know.
is so Midwest.
But I feel like there's, like, 2 Midwests.
What do you mean?
This could be a whole other conversation.
I think it's funny that you think there are 2 Midwest because it's like East Coast people, it's like definitely one Midwest. There's like the East Coast, the flyover states, which is the Midwest, and then the West Coast.
What's interesting is Jessie thinks she's an East Coaster,
I am
but you
through and
live
through.
here.
Yes, temporarily, as we spoke about earlier. I'm
Right.
moving back to New York in
Right,
like
for
17 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very temporary.
Yep. Well, I'm in my dream home for 17 years. Okay. Anyways, Jessie, where can the people find you?
The people can find me at Jessie B. Bernhardt on Instagram and on my blog at jessiebarnesbernhardt.com. That's BERNHARD as in dog, T as in Tom. German last names are confusing and hard. We
They
both
are.
had very simple last names
We
before we
did.
got married.
Yeah.
Nay and Barnes, like
Yeah.
super easy. The worst thing you can do with Barnes is like not add the E, but because of Barnes and Noble, everyone knows how to spell it.
Correct.
So yeah, we married into annoying names.
Yeah.
Pro tip. Don't. Just kidding. Don't swipe right on people with annoying last names.
Good thing the guys are better than the
exactly
long last name. And you can find us at www.themarketinggreenhouse.com.
Yes, or at the Marketing Greenhouse on Instagram. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I would love, we're doing a Q&A podcast at some point in the next couple of weeks. We got like a good handful of questions on Instagram, but if you want to send us any more, you can DM the Marketing Greenhouse or DM us. Jen, no one sent in questions about dating, even though I asked for them. No one wants our dating advice.
Oh. It has been a while since I've dated.
I know, both of us. But I thought it'd be so much fun to answer dating questions.
It would be great.
Right? Wouldn't that? So if you want us to be your dating coaches, we probably will have bad advice because we have been out of the game for almost 7+ years.
Yeah.
Maybe longer.
No, longer. I've been out of the game for like 9.
I know. You're like 2 years ahead of me. Yeah. So not the most sage advice, but it'd be really fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love giving dating advice to people.
And if you're
don't take it.
super inspired by this podcast, we kindly ask for your review on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, we would love for more reviews. We are currently at 5 stars with like, I think we're nearing 10 reviews, but we would love more. Yeah. Give us a shout out. Share our podcast on your Instagram stories. We love that. That means so much, and we're just gonna be plugging away, recording more.
Yeah. All right. Until next time.
Bye, guys.